It's raining outside. The rain signals the transition from autumn to winter. Everyone noticed that their bodies shivered from the cold, mixed with falling raindrops when walking in the rain. The teacher made tea in his office to enjoy hot tea after walking in the freezing rain of early winter. He enjoys quiet moments with cups of tea when working alone. At that time, he was reflecting on his students and classes. They carry different diseases, making them think negatively and suffer. They are always worried and afraid of their illness, and they hope for knowledge and healing methods from the teacher. He understands everything they are thinking and going through. Therefore, he always encourages them whenever he meets them in or outside class. The words of encouragement and stories he told made the students feel that he was indeed a super psychologist. The words the teacher said not only helped their minds have a comprehensive understanding to solve the complex problems they encounter, but they are also profound words to awaken their souls to become solid and forceful. While the teacher was thinking about the sick people, the door to the room suddenly opened slightly. The teacher's two brothers of students walked in and shivered from the cold of the winter raindrops. They came to the teacher's office when he didn't have a weekday class. The teacher named the older brother Truong Nalanda and the younger brother Duong Nalanda. The two cousins have followed him for many years, traveling with him to many places in different countries, and they have always accompanied him through difficulties. The teacher and students talked while sipping cups of hot tea together. Afterwards, the teacher confided to the two students,
"In the case of the mentally ill girl, it was a pity for that young girl when her parents gave up on treating their child. I told them from the beginning that to heal their daughter, she would have to let out conflicts to be completely cured. But when she broke out after years of being suppressed by daily doses of psychiatric medication, her parents became frightened and put her back on medication. Like other mental patients and hallucinations, that girl has had to take psychiatric medication for over 10 years. Such sick people always see images that no one else sees, always hear words that no one hears. The words are sometimes gentle and affectionate, sometimes angry and insulting. The images are demons, sometimes images of people they love. It is very diverse in images and sounds in the patient's mind. However, their parents, relatives, and spouses do not understand that it is a disease of the soul. It is not a disease of the body or the brain. As in the case of that young girl, I explained to her parents the truth about mental illness and hallucinations and called it a disease of the soul. No medicine can cure the disease of the soul. Medicine can only cure physical illnesses. However, perhaps her parents deliberately did not understand when they said the words that showed their ignorance, when they said their child was crazy. Perhaps out of pride and fear of people around them knowing their child had a mental illness when their daughter was in conflict, they decided to give her doses of medicine to suppress her brain. That makes the patient's body and brain weak and lifeless, like zombies without a soul inside.
Teacher, mentally ill people live in their world with images and language only they know and understand. They always see repeating images and hear conversations in their heads. Why does that happen? Can you explain that matter to me more?
A question from Duong. The teacher replied,
There are two problems in their souls, the transmutation mechanism and the information disorder in the energy particle system within them. Regarding information disorder, I will analyze it for everyone to hear in the next class. Now, I explain the transmutation mechanism that those mentally ill people and that girl practiced in past lives. To help you understand the mechanism of destructive transformation, I will show you the process of what that girl's soul did in recent life. You know, she is a beautiful and talented girl in this life. Such a girl is the pride of her parents. However, when that girl reached the age of love and began to have her heart moved by her first love, she lost control of her thoughts and actions. She thinks and talks about things that aren't true, sometimes screaming and hurting others. She saw images of a wonderful man whom she always thought was her lover and husband. Unusual expressions in her thoughts and actions made her parents believe demons possessed her. However, after many rituals to eliminate monsters, she never lost those phenomena. Her parents continued to take her to the hospital, and she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. She then took psychiatric medication every day. Drugs have controlled uncontrolled actions, but in the mind, there are always images of the man who is not accurate. The effects of the drug made her lose her vitality, and her body became like a living corpse without a soul. Return to that girl's previous life. That was a man. He was a handsome and beautiful boy. He was born into a wealthy family, and his parents had a high societal position. When that boy grew up, his beauty made many men think he was a girl. His words and actions are gentle, like other beautiful girls. He always felt that inside his body was not a man, but a woman. He did not share his questions about the differences in his body and emotions with anyone. He buried those secrets in his heart. His feelings changed when he met another beautiful boy. After chatting a few times, they knew each other's secrets, and the other boy was just like him. But because society at that time discriminated against people of the same sex loving and living together, they decided to hide the secret of their same-sex love. The boy became desperate and miserable when his parents arranged a wedding for him with another girl from a noble family. Because he could not disobey his parents, he married the girl and had 2 children. When the other boy heard that his lover was getting married, he became miserable and went to another place to live. Even though he was married and had 2 beautiful children, that man always missed his same-sex lover. Although he was with his wife and children, he could never forget the image of that man. Those sufferings tormented him for many years. After knowing where the other man was, he left his family behind, leaving his wife and children behind to go to the other man's side. When they met, they were delighted. Then they decided to go somewhere else together, to live together. Those 2 men gave each other sincere love until the end of their lives. Meanwhile, the man's parents, wife, 2 children, and brother's family were miserable. The wife lived in loneliness and resentment towards her husband. The 2 young children lived and grew up in the care of their mother, grandparents, and brother's family.
Teacher, why do those 2 men have feelings and love each other?
Nothing is natural. In many previous lives, both of them gradually changed their erroneous thinking about gender. At first, it was just because they were betrayed in love between men and women. Then, they didn't believe in love between men and women. Next, the bigger changes were that they thought they would be safe in same-sex love. And then, they came together and lived together as husband and wife. Sometimes, people's living environment causes them to imitate each other's wrong way of life, and false information causes them to change their thoughts and actions. The girl's case resulted in her suffering from mental illness in this life.
Teacher, the false information that girl's soul received over many lifetimes caused that soul to become out of control and form manifestations of mental illness.
Right, as follows. Since that girl's Tuolin began to incarnate as a human to practice in the human world, that soul has gone through many lifetimes of practice. Because each Tuolin will have to live in 4 life forms, they will produce 4 main groups of energy particles. I will analyze this in detail in future lessons. In each group, there are many clusters of energetic particles. Each particle cluster has many aggregated positive energy particles linked together by aggregated neutral particles. The synthesized harmful energy particles will vibrate around the synthesized positive particles when they have the same information content. That girl's soul, like other Tuolins, has a cluster of love particles in its structure. That means that thoughts and actions motivated by love will create energy particles that carry the information of love. The love particle cluster has many synthetic positive particles created during many lifetimes of practice as a human being. You need to remember that when a man and a woman love each other and give each other true love to become husband and wife, positive love energy particles are produced in their souls. Anger, negative thoughts, and actions will later produce harmful particles of love. Those energy particles create and make the soul more mature and more robust. However, when they are fed false information and then take actions that hurt each other, their souls will produce many negative particles of love. That's when that man left his wife and children to find happiness with a same-sex lover. That soul created a lot of harmful particles due to false information. Those negative particles gather around the few positive particles of love in the soul. That means the structure of that soul's love particle group is imbalanced. There are too many harmful particles surrounding one positive particle. In contrast, the balanced system has a 1:1 ratio between negative and positive particles. As a result, in this life, that soul lives in a girl's body and suffers from mental illness with signs of hallucinations about the man from her previous life. The girl's illness broke out when she fell in love. When that girl thought about love, because she reached the age of love, those thoughts activated information in the harmful particles of love created in the past. Because there are too many harmful particles of love, the positive particles cannot control them. As a result, images of the lover, sounds, language, and actions are stored in harmful particles transmitted to the girl's brain. That information controls all of the girl's thoughts and actions. That makes many people think demons possess them, and medicine cannot explain this disease.
Truong Nalanda asked the teacher,
Teacher, please explain in more detail about the production of negative energy particles in the previous life when that girl was a man. After that, he left his family to live with his same-sex lover. Because many people think that it is impossible to produce negative energy particles if they are happy with the person they love.
The teacher laughed and answered,
People who steal are happy after they take valuable things from others. Killers are happy because they kill others. People who slaughter animals are happy because they have a lot of money selling animal meat. Do they also produce positive energy particles because their emotions are satisfied and happy? You must analyze from the source that Tuolins must incarnate as humans to practice in all interactive scenarios. The purpose is to release the toxin, eliminate it, and finally activate goodness. Next, in the conference gathering humanity, Nalas Nalanda had 4 teachings. Even if we analyze and expand those 4 teachings, none allow people of the same sex to marry, to become a family and birth children. It can be said that nature does not allow that to happen. God let Tuolins incarnate into male or female bodies to help them eliminate toxins, then activate goodness. He does not put any soul in the wrong body. The cause is information disorder in souls because they absorb harmful information from the outside environment and it transforms them. Although that man was happy with another man in his previous life, he abandoned his children, wife, and parents to satisfy the selfishness of same-sex love. He fails to bring the value of sustainable development to everyone around him and his own family. That soul has produced countless negative particles, from false information to actions that hurt people.
Teacher, I now understand the nature of that girl's case. If we don't analyze the nature of information and energy particles, I think people will misunderstand the nature of things and phenomena. As a result, people continued to wallow in ignorance.
Then the teacher continued,
If you want to thoroughly understand why people suffer from all kinds of mental illnesses, even many incurable diseases, you must understand the knowledge of the 2 truths in the smallest energy particle in previous lessons. When people have ignorant wisdom, their minds become ignorant, leading to evil actions. It interacts with other people, animals, and things to produce harmful energy particles. Producing negative energy particles is practicing the mechanism of reincarnation, decay, and destruction. The soul will not make any positive and neutral energy particles in one reaction when producing harmful energy particles. When no positive and neutral energy particles are created, those harmful particles will not have new positive energy particles to bond to form a new, stable structure. Therefore, harmful particles find positive particles already in the system with the same or similar information to connect. At that time, those positive particles lose heat and are unbalanced by the newly born harmful particles. Please look closely at the image simulating several clusters of harmful particles in a synthetic energy particle structure outside the yin and yang embryo of the soul to understand the mechanism of harmful particle production. Each tuolin or soul has countless clusters of energy particles outside the yin and yang embryo. Each set has many positive energy particles with the same information group. When people release toxins in any interaction scenarios in human life, they will live ignorant of those interactions. Then, false information from the outside is absorbed and linked to the toxic information of the negative particle. They control the original positive particle, and people act ignorant because the toxins operate them. As a result, harmful particles are produced in abundance. It is made in any group of interaction scenarios where the poison is released. As a result, many clusters of harmful particles in the soul, meaning many negative particles, vibrate around a positive particle. When a soul has negative multiparticle groups, that soul will have mental illness. If there are multiple clusters of negative multiparticles, they become uncontrolled and result in being disintegrated by destructive energy. I tell you a secret of destructive energy. The energy of destruction must move into an environment with negative heat and energy structures to discharge excess heat. The redundant heat of it is hazardous, and it will disintegrate the structure of matter when it enters. When tuolins, people, and all things in the universe vibrate due to losing control of excess harmful particles, the destructive particles will catch the signal and move. When they get rid of excess heat, they live longer. On the contrary, when exposed to their heat, the tuolin, soul, and physical structures will break apart and disintegrate until complete destruction. Disconnection and decomposition cause all information systems in the tuolin to become disordered. Depending on the level of confusion and decay, it manifests into different types of mental illnesses and dangerous pathologies. Some people are only mentally ill because of a cluster of energy particles with many harmful particles. Some people have more severe mental illness when there are many clusters of energy particles with many harmful particles. Some people even have many groups of energy particles with many harmful particles. From there, the severity of the disease also varies. When humans and tuolins practice producing harmful energy particles, they will become disintegrated by destructive energy. That is the mechanism of transmutation, decay, and destruction. Diseases of the soul are manifestations of the process of decay. Thus, you see the painful results of every tuolin when they do not understand the three secrets through the two truths to reform themselves to become sustainable. The suffering in the souls of people with mental illnesses and dangerous diseases is part of the manifestation of grief when the tuolins are decomposed by destructive energy. That is why all tuolins desire to incarnate as humans to understand the three secrets. Next is the practice of forcing out toxins and activating kindness. That is practicing the mechanism of sustainable transformation, also known as producing positive energy particles. I will analyze the transmutation mechanisms in detail in future lessons. Because if you explain those issues carefully at this stage, it will not be suitable for you and the learners.
The two students immediately replied,
Teacher, the more you explain energy particles, the more deeply we understand the truth of tuolins, people, things, and events. From the knowledge of the two truths associated with energy particles, learners will decode and understand everything. Teacher, it's amazing.